Hello, my name is Rudai. Today I want to take you to a busy gas station on a cold winter day in Japan. I walked up to a driver, put on my best professional smile, and said hello. His response was instant. He unleashed a 30-minute verbal attack, screaming at me, calling me stupid, and telling me to shut up. I was standing out there completely alone, with no supervisor to step in, because of my corporate uniform and my job roles. I was required to stay polite and completely defenseless during the interaction. Why was he so incredibly angry? Because his dog was having a medical emergency, and he was rushing to an animal hospital in Izu, about 100 kilometers away. This extreme behavior is known as kashara in Japan, or customer harassment. Today, I will walk you through my analysis of Frontline Hostility. I will explore how it impacted my operational performance and the psychological strategies I developed to regain my resilience. To give you some context, I spent 6 months over 2 winter seasons between 2025 and 2026 working as a brand promoter for IDEX Corporation. My job was done at Apple Station gas stations in the Tokyo-Yokohama area, Japan, and promote mobile apps and credit cards. I worked over 1,000 hours in total, and I approached approximately 30 customers every single hour. So in total, my active field research involved approaching more than 30,000 individuals, but the hardest part was not the cold or the long shifts. It was the fact that I was a lone wolf. I worked there completely by myself, expected to handle constant rejection and difficult customers without any on-site management support. Academic theories helped me finally make sense of this hostility. First, the scapegoat theory. This theory explains that when people are overwhelmed by stress, they look for a safe target to unleash their frustrations on. That man whose dog was sick was not mad at me, but because I was required to be polite and could not fight back, I was the perfect, safe emotional punching bag. Second, the frustration-aggression hypothesis tells us that aggression happens when a person feels their goals are blocked. A gas station is not a place where people browse, but is a high-speed transit zone where the only goal is to fuel and leave quickly. When I stepped in front of a customer to say hello, they think I'm a physical barrier blocking them from their goal. That friction immediately exploded into verbal aggression. Understanding this is critical to our global goals. This is not just a business problem, but it connects directly to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This issue is directly tied to SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Because feeling safe and respected at your job is a basic human right that directly affects how well you can perform. It is also strongly related to SDG 3, good health and well-being. As dealing with constant abuse causes severe burnout, anxiety, and lasting emotional exhaustion for these workers. And finally, it connects to SDG 10, reduced inequalities, by exposing the massive power imbalance in the service industry where customers feel entitled to strip workers of their basic dignity. This harassment is not just an inconvenience, but it actively destroys business. After that 30 minutes screaming incident, I was emotionally exhausted. Honestly, I became terrified to do my job. All the maid drivers made up about 50% of the customer base at the station, and I found myself hesitating and avoiding them completely. I was naturally trying to protect my feelings by withdrawing from my duties. The fear didn't only make me avoid specific people, but it also ruined my confidence during the pitches I actually made. So my normal 2% success rate on average dropped completely in half, down to just 1%. I tried to look for help online. Articles suggested taking short breaks, listening to favorite music, or avoiding eye contact. But in the real world of frontline work, these were impossible. I was not allowed to take random breaks and wear headphones, and looking away from a customer would just look rude and drive my sales down even further. But then, about 2 weeks later, I had a breakthrough. I realized that the customer was not attacking me as an individual, but rather the uniform and the role of the promoter. I started practicing what researchers call psychological detachment. I consciously built a mental wall separating my work self from my real self. So whenever someone yelled, I stopped seeing it as a personal failure and started viewing it as an external operational challenge. The results were incredible. Once I adopted this method, my fear of approaching older men vanished. My confidence returned and my sales performance didn't only recover, but it also grew, hitting a new average success rate of 3%. Based on my experience, I have three concrete recommendations for businesses. First, we have to reevaluate the traditional customer is always right mindset in Japan. Companies must establish formal policies giving promoters the right to politely stop the interaction and walk away as soon as a customer violates basic standards of respect. Second, organizations need to implement mental resilience and separation training before sending workers into the field. Teaching them how to separate their personal identity from their work identity can protect their feelings from the beginning. Finally, we need remote supervisor support. Even if a manager is not there on site, having a quick chat app or phone line to instantly report an incident ensures solo workers never feel completely abandoned. That instant emotional safety net allows a worker to immediately recover from stress and get back to pitching without fear. If companies ignore these recommendations, the financial cost is severe. Think about the turnover rate in the service industry. When frontline workers are left completely unprotected from customer harassment, they quickly burn out and eventually quit. Companies are then forced to spend massive amounts of money constantly recruiting and training new promoters, only to have them quit a month later. By establishing these protective boundaries and providing an emotional safety net, businesses protect their human investments. Ultimately, psychological safety is a primary driver of sales because a protected frontline worker is far more proactive, confident, and capable of generating more revenue. In conclusion, my time at the gas station was a difficult, high pressure experience, but it transformed me from a fearful student into a resilient professional. Customer harassment is a direct threat to a company's bottom line. If service industries want to keep their profits high, they must start prioritizing the mental safety, equality, and the dignity of the frontline workers who keep their businesses running. Here is the declaration of AI use. Here is the reference list. That's all. Thank you for listening.